Hello, everyone. I am Monica, and this is Chai, Chat, and Community. This morning, I'm chatting with Dave Oza, a political candidate for the Rosstown Ward, Glen Eira, for the Victorian Council elections. Hello, Dave, and thank you for coming to my show.
Hi, Saleha. Thank you so much for having me. Let me start by saying, I think to go with the theme of chai, chat, and community, I went across the road and got myself a chai latte.
There you go.
It's not nearly as good as the chai I remember from India, but this is what we have to make.
This will do. Yes. Dave, before I start with all the questions that I have for you, will you tell us something about yourself, please?
Yes, certainly. So I'm Dev. Hello, everybody. For those living in Rosstown Ward in Glen Eira, you may have seen my face posted around the shop windows and in people's garden yards and everything. So I promise you it'll all be down in the next 2 weeks. So you won't have to look at it for too long. For work, I'm the CEO of a mid-sized telecommunications company based in Port Melbourne. I also sit on the board of Dial Before You Dig, which is a national organization.
Yes.
Yeah, which looks after the underground assets around Australia. I live with my partner, who is a psychologist at the hospital. And for fun, I like to, when I have time, it's been hectic now, but I like to play a bit of golf. And it's I've got traumas from being a child and always being picked the last guy for the cricket team. So I got to pick a sport where no matter how bad I am, I'm the only person who can see it. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
This is so interesting. Why are you standing for the council elections here?
Thanks for that question, and I get asked that a lot. I think it is about representation. I think that whether we like it or not, the demographic is changing around us, and I think that people in the council, people in government, all forms of government, local, federal, state, we need to have the representation needs to reflect what the community looks like, because no matter how sympathetic I am towards, say, elderly people, older people, I'll never have their experiences. No matter how sympathetic I am towards a country Australian gentleman, I'll never have those experiences. And I think that's sort of a cornerstone of democracy. So I think that's one of my main reasons to share my experiences and obviously do something good for the community.
Of course. And what is your mission and vision for your ward?
Yeah. Look, it is quite grandiose, which
that's what dreams are all about.
Well, that's true. Yeah, dream big. So
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
It is a lot to do with my values and principles, and I think there is a great deal of apathy when it comes to local government elections. And actually, a quick anecdote: I got a text message from one of the residents a couple of days ago, and they said, "Dev, what is your? I love all your policies, but what's your view on the climate emergency? Like, should the council have declared a climate emergency?" And I said, "Look, thank you for your question. I do think that we all owe our future generations. We should leave them with a planet that is livable. And I think there is an emergency, and I think council and all government bodies should do something to work towards that."
Yes.
And he got back to me and said, "Look, thank you for getting back to me, but I'm not going to be voting for you because I don't think that the council should engage in, I think he called it value." Yeah. He called it value posturing or something of the sort, And basically he said, you should just focus on fixing the lights and fixing the roads and, collecting our rubbish sort of thing. So thank you for your time, but I won't be voting for you. And I thanked him for the time. But that just shows that what people think about local government. And yeah, I think that should change. I think.
And I hope you are going to be the voice of change.
I really hope so. I hope
we need more people like you. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah, we do need that in the community. And I think for too long we've had this view that politicians are just there for their own benefit, And I think if you really wanted money, you could be a banker. If you really wanted to see your face everywhere, you could be a real estate agent. There's really people who enter politics. I think there is at least some sense of community service in them, and I think that should be respected overall. And yeah, it's hopefully up to our generation to change that a little bit.
And now I come to your advocacy, because talking. So you are an advocate for safer communities. I'm going to just rattle off, and then
I haven't prepared for anyone watching, so completely.
I just have questions from your page and things that I am interested. Being a resident, I don't live in Rosstown Ward, but as if I was to vote for any candidate from where I live, I want to know what they stand for. So I like what you are advocating for. So I'm going to go ahead and just ask these questions. So you're advocating for safer communities, post-COVID economic recovery, sustainability, diversity, and supporting local businesses.
Yes.
So what will you do for each one of them?
Very important point. I'm going to start from the bottom, if that's all right.
Absolutely.
I think there's a interaction, or a couple of interactions that have come to mind right now. Just speaking, local businesses. I think, look, I've done quite a bit of research on this topic as a part of my work, and it's crazy what people think about local businesses and small businesses, and what impact they have on the community. I mean, it's been proven that smaller businesses put more of their earnings back into the community. They hire more people per unit sold. They've just overall made the local economy a lot more prosperous. But I think a lot of people, as the world is right now, me included, if I want to buy something, if I want to buy clothes or something, I'll just go to Chadstone. If I want to buy groceries or something, I'll still go to Chadstone. And that's, I think local businesses are suffering. And I think the council should do something towards that. Now, that's obviously in a normal time, but in COVID as well, I've heard from, I'm not going to say countless, but at least 8 or 10 local business owners and young couples who've moved to Glen Eira to start their family, to start a local business. And they called me and they said, hey, look, we're in a predicament. And I said, what's going on? I said, look, we've just started a business in Jan. And that was the first call that I got. And it was a cleaning business, lovely couple, they've just moved to Glen Eira and they've started a business there. And before they could register for GST, because they've just started in Jan, obviously COVID happened and our world, has changed substantially. And they tried to go to the council for grants. So the council is doing something. They're giving these grants out. It's not a lot of money, but it's helpful.
Something,
yeah. And they said, look, are we eligible for these grants? And they were told, you're not.
Why not?
And they asked why, and they said, because you haven't registered for GST. Now, how does a home-based business, which needs the most help compared to others, they have less visibility, they have less customers to begin with, they need all the help they can get, and they're the ones who are being excluded from these grants. And the same thing, I could go on. There was another gentleman who got in touch with me, and he started a cake decoration business, again, at home. And these organic businesses that the community supports, but the council isn't really doing much to support them. So I think from a local economy and helping the businesses perspective, I think there's a lot more that the council can do. I think it's not just about helping the cafes that are out there. Obviously, it's about that as well. And one of the things that I'm going to do to help the cafes is reduce the footpath trading fees, because I think we should encourage them to trade outside more, to trade outdoors more.
Especially now, yes.
Absolutely, now, yeah. And especially when they're recovering from all the financial hits that they've taken as a part of COVID, I think we should do everything we can to help. And it should be more proactive, because cafe owners or tailors or dry cleaners, they don't have the time to go out and seek help. They're too distraught. They don't know where they're going to pay their bill from, the rent. I know I've been talking to a lot of the business owners, and the rent's still going up. Landlords don't care. I asked someone and they said, the rent's going up again this year, 4%. I was like, what? I was absolutely astounded. Yeah. And I said, surely you can talk to the landlord. I mean, landlord is not government. Landlord is not a welfare. They're not there to benefit society as a whole. So fair enough. But I think that's where there should be more support, proactive support, where the council should go out, get in touch with local businesses and say, hey, how can we help? You are the lifeblood of our community. How can we help make your life easier? How can we help get you back in business? So that's the other thing. I suppose for safer communities, I do live in an area which is considered fairly affluent and fairly safe. But having said that, I was surprised because there was a burglary at my place about 6 or 7 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah, completely. Fortunately, they didn't get into the house. They were in the garage and they took my bike. And I hadn't ridden that bike for a while. But once it was lost, I was like, oh, I really want to ride my bike, as it always happens. And look, fortunately, I found it because they'd removed one of the wheels and taken the wheel that was secure to it. They couldn't ride it too far, obviously, with just one wheel. It was a unicycle, and they dumped it. So someone actually got in touch with me on one of the community Facebook groups and said, "Hey, have you lost this bike?" And I said, "Yeah, I have actually." So it was. I mean, that kind of just prompted me to find out what the council's role is in keeping our community safe. Because realistically, does the police? They're overburdened. I mean, they're too busy enforcing, if people are wearing masks, if people are staying within their 5-kilometer radius and so on. So, yeah, I think that prompted me to find out what the council can do. And then that kind of ties in with what I talk about sustainability, because I thought we've got all these lights here, but they're really, really old. Some of them, right? The council has changed quite a few of them, but some of them are really old. And I got in touch with the council and I said, look, what's going on with these lights? What percentage of the lights in this area are solar powered? And I think that's where I faced a little bit of red tape or bureaucracy. Not really red tape per se, but they just didn't know. And they said, oh, could you get in touch with United Energy? So I had to go to United Energy, and then
you
I had
mean
to
the
come
council
back.
doesn't know? Okay.
No one knows. No one knows what's going on. And they were like, oh, could I find out why you need to know? And then I said, look, because I'm one of the candidates for council. And that's when the whole thing changed. And they're like, oh, okay, right, okay, I will get that information to you. I can't give it to you on the phone because I want to make sure it's the right information.
Yes,
and then they got back to me with some, with some information. And I think that needs to be changed. So, look, I do believe, I think it was Theodore Roosevelt who said that, do the best you can with what you have. And I think council can do something about safety. We can't just say, oh, it's a police matter, just leave it. Even if there's a little bit that council can do, I think the council should do it. And that kind of ties in with my safer communities. Neighborhood watch, I think about 15 years ago or 10 years ago, was really big in the suburb.
Yes.
Yeah, and now it's dying. I called the local neighborhood watch president or secretary. I think she got back to me a week and a half later. So it's not, and fair enough. She's probably busy. She may have missed the call. But yeah, it's not prominent anymore. It's not sort of, something she's probably doing 20, full time or something. And yeah, I think those things really do tie in with the inclusion and diversity. I think that's quite important and also more pertinent to what we are talking about. I think we have a long way to go. I think we've come a long way, but I think we have a long way to go. Fortunately, all my interactions with people have been quite good, but I know that there are a lot of people who still have a sense of they're uneasy about the changing demographic. They're uneasy.
Yes.
They're unknown to
Yes.
them. Yeah, they may not have a bad bone in their body, but it's just new, And I think that's where work is required. I think it's not something that'll organically happen. There should be awareness. There should be council sponsored or at least council facilitated. We don't want to increase the rates by having these programs and everything, but council facilitated cultural programs, for example. And it's just overall better for the community. A stronger community fabric. I think those points. So I think I've got enough to work towards if I do get elected. So.
So, what are the main issues that you're seeing in the community? I know you've talked about what you're going to do, but what do you think are the main issues in your council, in the community?
There are some issues which are being talked about a lot by people in the community because it affects them directly. There are some issues which are not being talked about a lot. And I think all are equally important. Not that one is more important than the other. One of them is overdevelopment. There's obviously a lot of overdevelopment happening around here, and people do get up in arms about it, and I think it's rightly so. I was in Carnegie just yesterday or the day before, and I saw the huge building that has gone up there, and I've never actually noticed it because of the way they've designed it, but I think it's actually 7 or 8 stories, and we just don't have the infrastructure, I think, to go with it. I think as a council, the roads aren't wide enough.
Broad enough, yes.
Yeah, there's not enough parking. There's just
traffic's a mess. I know that area. Yes, traffic.
Oh, do you?
I mean, I've driven through, so yes. Yeah. I mean, traffic is not free flowing. If you get stuck, you're stuck, and especially
absolutely peak hour, especially.
Yes,
it's actually quite bad. So I think obviously I understand that more people are coming into Australia, more people are coming into Victoria. Our population is booming, but and we will have to have some high density, accommodation built for, and also being someone from a, in my mid 30s, affordability is a big one as well. Because people like myself who want to settle down in certain areas, we can't afford $2 million houses. No. We have to go for something that's somewhere in the middle, and often that is apartments and so on.
Yes.
So it's a fine balancing act. I think that's listening to the community, listening to the residents, what they're saying, but also communicating with the residents, because there are some people who'd be completely up in arms about, oh, we don't want anything over 1 floor.
But that's not going to happen. Yes.
Well, that's not going to happen. So that's as a council, you need to engage them, not just say, oh no, we're going to do it anyway. You need to engage them. You need to make them aware, like, this is the reality. The state government plays a big part in that as well, and some things are outside of council hands. So I think that's an important one. Another one that I actually forgot to mention before was a couple of years ago, they tried to sell off the aged care, council-run aged care facilities, and that I think is I don't agree with it. I mean, I see it as a businessman. I see
where they're coming from. Yes.
The balance sheet would add up.
Yes, of course.
There's only a certain limit where the council can be run as a business. It fundamentally exists for the people.
Yes, absolutely.
And there are a lot of people in the community who benefit from these aged care facilities. And these aged care facilities, they've been run fantastically. And people are raving about it, and they don't want that to go into private hands where, the company just sees a dollar sign on top of every resident.
And it's very expensive. I know colleagues, parents who live there. I mean, live in private aged care facilities. So yes,
absolutely. And I think that is an important part. I will look. That's something is a matter of principle for me. I will ensure that it is. It's in council hands for as long. And I know Glen Eira is one of the last few remaining councils who have council-run aged care, if not the only one. I'll have to check on that. And childcare as well. I think childcare is becoming more and more important. People like myself, we both work, and if we were to have a child, it would be hard. It would be hard if we don't have, and it just gives people a choice to, either I want to go public, either I want to go private. It's the same with hospitals. It should be the same with a lot of other things. I want to pay more, I want to go private. Well, no, I'm very happy with the public services, and I think we should. And then for all people who think I'm a socialist because of that, I'm not. I assure you, I'm actually a bit more sensible.
Have you been working in the community there?
I have indeed, yes. And it's been a very enriching and learning. It's a learning curve. It is a learning curve. So about 2 years ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, I volunteered with this organization called the Center for Multicultural Youth. And I think it's based in Dandenong. And or at least the office was in Dandenong that I went to. I don't know where they're based. I think they're based in Collingwood. Eye-opening. It was a life experience for me. I kind of did it as a, I want to try something new. I want to do something for the community. I had a bit more time. I just changed jobs, working for a large corporate who obviously want you to work 80 hours a week to Yeah. And I met some wonderful young people there. There was this one guy who particularly he that vision will stay with me forever. He spoke perfect English, absolutely perfect. Impeccable. Can't fault him. And I got to know a bit more about him, and he was applying. I was helping him make his resume and sort of, how to talk to prospective employers. And turned out he was of Afghani heritage, and he'd only arrived here about a year ago, and his English was impeccable. And I said, mate, Abdul, his name was. I said, Abdul, how? Like, you're a genius. Like, you should be studying. Don't worry about becoming an apprentice bricklayer or something. I think he wanted to become a bricklayer. And he said, oh, do you know how I've learned? And I said, no. And he said, I was in detention in Malaysia or somewhere for 3 years. So being processed before he was allowed into Australia, he had to be there for 3 years. And he had only one DVD, Prison Break, the show. And he learned English purely from that.
Wow.
That's a phenomenal
I'm actually I interviewed an Afghan gentleman yesterday, young guy, 28 years old. I'm interviewing a Hazara woman tomorrow who's standing for election. Those people are amazing, amazing.
Absolutely. And those are the bright people who have so much to bring to our community.
And they should all be given, all of us should be given opportunities, because we all have our own strengths, don't you think, Dave?
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Strengths and weaknesses, I think,
I think yes, we all come with weaknesses, yes.
Yeah. Politicians, I think, particularly should be aware that they have weaknesses, and that is something that hopefully I will do. If I've done something wrong, if I've missed out on something, and people come and tell me, hey, what's going on? I think people should be humble enough to say, okay, let me try and fix it for you.
Yep.
And I think that's important. Aside from that, I currently also, so during the early months of COVID, I founded this organization called the Glen Eira COVID Initiative, which initially consisted just of me doing deliveries for the elderly, healthcare workers, etc. And then I got contacted by a community member, and they forwarded me the number of there's an organization called Super Kitchen. So it's like a soup kitchen, but Super Kitchen, which I think is a fantastic play on words. And they run a fantastic charity, and it's become quite large scale now. I was there just the day before yesterday. Every Thursday for 2 hours, I go and deliver for them. I think they had 170, 180 deliveries to do. So there's a lot of elderly people. There's a lot of people. Yeah. So it is a Russian Jewish charity organization, but I'm pretty sure they deliver to everybody and anybody. And that has been seriously eye-opening for me, because I've met so many of these elderly people and talked to them about the challenges that they're facing as a part of COVID. Talk to them. A lot of them actually live in public housing, which is
in Glen Eira.
Yeah, there is. Believe it or not. Yeah, I didn't know. You drive past for so many years. I've driven past and completely unaware that it's in fact public housing. And I walk in there, and it's to be honest, it's quite confronting, to see how it is there. And I think they need all the help they can get. And there's obviously private charities doing that kind of stuff. But I think councils should be more proactive as well, and they're stuck, cooped up in their homes. They can't go out for the fear of getting COVID. So yeah, there's a lot of mental health challenges as well that they're suffering from. So sorry, Salah, just give me one moment. I have to turn that on. I plugged my laptop in, but I forgot to
turn it on. Yes, turn
it on. So those two experiences have been great for me, and I'll continue to do that as long as my career sort of affords me the time for it. Obviously, there's times when the workload goes up, but so those are the two things that I'm doing, and that, I think the aged care bit comes from that, because I've really seen how the elderly are sort of struggling with a few things, and I think council-run engagement programs are really good as well. If someone from the council, and a liaison officer, if you may, does rounds and just calls them up and, knows them by the name and says, hey, Judy, what's going on? Or hey, Mark, what's going on? And just keeping in touch with them. I think that's very important, especially during this time. Look, with the other one was with very important that I'd like to talk about was with the migrant communities that are moving here with the what I advocate for is family violence. And I know that's something that you worked for as well.
Yes, I've been getting psychiatrists and Victoria Police on my show. Yes, that's something I'm very passionate about. Yes.
Wow. Yeah. It's huge because it's in Australia. I think we tend to think that it doesn't exist. Of course it exists, it exists and it's there. And
yes.
Absolutely. And it ruins people's life, not just the victims, but the family members of the victims and even the perpetrators. And it's just a terrible thing overall. And I think as the demographic is changing, like you said, there's so many people of different cultures moving into our area, their cultural experiences and what family violence means to them and the threshold for what counts as family violence, etc., could be very different.
Absolutely. So it's a new learning for many. I realize that. Yes.
Absolutely. And I think the council should take that into consideration, and it is changing whether we like it or not. And there should be an awareness program. I think everyone should be talking about it and make it well known. So if there's a person who's moved from, I don't know, Asia, Southeast Asia, China, wherever, India, Pakistan, what they think family violence is, and it's a taboo subject to talk about.
Yes, absolutely.
That needs to change. They are a part of our community now, and the job isn't over yet, is what I'm saying. It's constantly, evolving. So that is something that I'm also passionate about.
And talk about family violence is something that kind of always stumps me, but yes. Last question. What makes you stand out from the other people who are also going in for the same elections? Why would I vote for you, Dev?
Why would you vote for me?
Has anyone asked you this question? Other than...
I've actually, believe it or not, I've had so many interactions with the community online. It's tremendous. I didn't expect it to be this this much. The sheer volume of the inquiries that I get every day, and it's in different forms. There's emails, there's comments on Facebook, there's people texting and calling. I think that's what makes me a bit different. That's not saying that other people don't do it, but I listen. I've got big ears, my mom used to say, so I'm a good listener. And I listen and I genuinely take on board what people have to say. And I find new ways of interacting with people. Obviously, during a normal campaign, me and some volunteers from the team would go out and knock on doors and have a chat with people and understand what they want, tell them what I'm all about, etc. But it's been such a challenge this year.
Yes,
it's just absolutely impossible. So I've really amped up I've been innovative with, and I think I've got a couple of people my social media manager to thank for that as well. And he's really helped out with building a platform which is easy to access, which gives people, it's seamless. People can come in and ask me questions and I'll always endeavor to get back to them. I'm not always on time, but I will get back to them. I think that makes me different. I also look at both sides of the coin. I genuinely do. I think assimilation was one of the things that we were, was quite pertinent to this, what we're doing as well. I think assimilation is probably not the right word because it puts all the focus on the migrants to assimilate. But I think that the contribution should be from both sides.
Absolutely.
There should be awareness within the more mainstream community, and they should be more inclusive and welcoming. But it should also be on the migrants. So it's sort of and the cultural. And that's just one example of what I think. And I like to believe that I've got a great sense of social justice. My dad is a human rights lawyer, and I remember going back from boarding school and on the dinner table, that's what we talk about. And I think I generally have been raised to think that community service is good and politics means more than what people think, which is just about collecting the rubbish and fixing the lights and roads and stuff like that. I mean, there is no great ideological clash between if your rubbish should be collected on Tuesday or Wednesday, but there are other things that we need to look after. So I think these things. I hope if you did live here, you would vote for me.
Yes, I would. And we need more voices like you. Honestly,
thank you.
We need more people of color like you and me to represent our society, because all of us give in our best to our community.
Yes, and that's what it's all about, I think.
Absolutely. We are as much as part of the community as any other person.
Could not agree more.
Yeah. Thank you, Dev. It's been a pleasure chatting to you.
Thank you, Saleh. Thank you for having me.
I wish you all the best, and I'm sure you will win.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the confidence. Thanks for the word of encouragement. Take care.
You too.
And I may have chai latte more often now.
Maybe the Indian chai with the masala tea.
Oh, maybe that's too much for my belly now.
All the best.
Thank you, Saleha.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. See you soon. Bye.